Welcome back, everyone. I'd like to begin by inviting Teijo to chant for opening the sutra. I can't tell. Oh, okay, good.
I'm just an unsurpassed, penetrating, and perfect Dharma is rarely met with, even in 100,000 million kalpas. Having it to see and listen to, remember and accept, I vow to taste the truth of the Tathagata's teaching.
And before we begin, I'd just like to let folks know that if you'd like to give dana to Reverend Okumura, in addition to your registration for the series, that you can find the link to Sanshin's giving page in the chat for this morning's session. And you can use that to send him dana.
I think that the registration money is going to go to the Dogen Institute. So that anything that you send to him direct may go to him directly, I think.
Thank you. Maybe make a note of that when you send it. Okay, appreciate that, Teijo. Just a little introduction for those who might not have been here previous mornings of this series of 4. Shohaku Okumura is the founder and abbot of Sanshin Zen Community. He was born in Osaka, Japan in 1948. In 1970, he was ordained by the late Kosho Ukiyama Roshi, who is one of the foremost Zen masters of the 20th century. He received Dharma transmission from his teacher in 1975, and shortly after became one of the founding members of Pioneer Valley Zendo in Massachusetts. He returned to Japan in 1981 and began translating the works of Dogen Zenji, Ukiyama Roshi, and other Soto masters from Japanese into English. In 1993, he moved back to the US with his wife, Yuko, and their 2 children. He's previously served as teacher at the Kyoto Soto Zen Center in Japan and at Minnesota Zen Meditation Center in Minneapolis, and was director of the Soto Zen International Center in San Francisco for 13 years. Today, Okumura Roshi is recognized for his unique perspective on the life and teachings of Dogen Zenji, derived from his experience as both practitioner and translator, and as a teacher in both Japanese and Western practice communities. He gives frequent lectures on the Shobogenzo and other foundational texts. Transcriptions have appeared in Buddha Dharma, the practitioners' quarterly, Dharma Eye, and Buddhism Now. He has also written or contributed to a number of books, and the complete publication list is available from Dogen Institute. Welcome, Okumura Roshi.
Thank you very much, and good morning, everyone. I hope you have the text of these Dogen's waka poems. I didn't know you didn't have, so I thought you had. So my talk might not so easy to understand, but I hope you have the text today. So I'm going to talk on the poem from Kuchugen, number 13. This is last poem about entitled Snow. So this poem is again about snow. Let me read this poem first in Japanese. 三階十方何ぞ一色なる。誰か論前、天上及び人間。伝うることなかれ環口調の言語。無熱農地は切産にあり。Let me read it again. 三階十方何ぞ一色なる。誰か論前、天上及び人間。伝うることなかれ環口調の言語。無熱農地は切産にあり。In English, how can the three realms and 10 directions be all one color? Who would discuss the difference between human and heavenly beings? Do not convey talk of birds suffering in the cold. The lake with no heat of anxiety is on the snowy mountain. Again, how can the three realms and 10 directions be all one color? Who would discuss the difference between human and heavenly beings? Do not convey talk of birds suffering in the cold. The lake with no heat of anxiety is on the snowy mountain. The first line, the three realms, is translation of Sangai. And 10 directions is Jippo. Sun is 3 and Kai is realm or world, triple world. And Jippo is 10 directions. 10 directions means north, south, east, west, and middle of them, and up and down. Those are called 10 directions. So 10 direction means entire world. And 3 world is also the entire world. But 3 world and 10 direction is used in Buddhist literature, kind of opposite. We also, have expression such as Sanze. For example, when we have service chanting a sutra, recite the dedication. And after dedication, all assembly chant Ji Ho San Shi I Shi Hu in Japanese, or that is in Japanese, that is Ji Ho San Shi San Se, and this Se is time, 3 times. So we need to be careful. 3 times and 3 words are 2 different things. Actually, Se and Kai as a compound in Japanese means world. But Se means time and Kai means space. So in Japanese word sekai or world means combination of space and time. And here it is space or realms, and 3 realms refer to the realms in which sentient beings transmigrate. So this is transmigration. The realms we transmigrate within 6 realms, and heavenly. I have to explain. I think you are familiar with 6 realms, and beyond those 6 realms, there are realms or world of this part is called world of desire, and second one is called world of rupa or material, and third one, highest, is called rupa, world without rupa, without material. And the lowest, those 3 are heavenly realms, but the lowest part of heavenly realms is part of world of desire. So we sentient beings transmigrate those 3 worlds. So all those 3 worlds, including world of desire and material and without material, are called samsara, in which we are transmigrating. So this is the sangai referred to samsara. And jippo is often used as a jippo butsudo. Butsudo means Buddha land. So in Mahayana Buddhism, it said there are Buddha lands in all 10 directions, not only this universe, this world, but there are Buddha's land within 10 directions. And what Dogen is saying is the 3 realms or 3 worlds, that is samsara, and 10 directions, that is Buddha's land, Buddha land, are one color. So he doesn't think, these are 3 different places where we transmigrate, and Buddha land is not other worlds, but those opposite in our as a Buddhist term are one color, and this one color is color of snow, white. So everything is covered with snow. So both samsara and nirvana, Buddha's land, are white. So he doesn't think there are so many different worlds or different Buddha lands beyond this world. But all these are about this world, where we are. And in front of Dogen, this entire world is now white, covered with snow. So within this one color world, there are 3 realms, 3 worlds in which we are transmigrating, and also there are Buddha lands. That means, those differences, 3 realms and 10 direction Buddha land, are difference created by our attitude toward life. So this are all one color. And second line, who would discuss the difference between human and heavenly beings. So this is about within samsara. You know, human and heavenly beings are last two realms and relatively better places. But human realms and the heavenly realms are different. Human beings and the heavenly beings are different. It is said in the heavenly realms, all heavenly beings are happy. Their desires are completely fulfilled. But in human world, we are always in the condition of dissatisfaction. And we want to do this, we want to have this. So we are in the world of desire. But he thinks these different realms or different conditions of our life is caused by our mind, depending upon the condition of our mind. We create those realms or Buddha land. That is what he is saying in the first two lines. And in the third line, he said, do not convey talk of birds suffering in the cold. Birds suffering in the cold is a translation of kan, ku, cho. Kan is cold, and ku is suffering, and cho is bad. It is said there is a bird in the snow mountains that called Himalaya. Yeah, I think you know the name of Himalaya. The highest mountain in the world is a part of Himalaya mountains. And you know, it's interesting. This second part of this word, Himalaya, is same as Alaya. That is the deepest layer of our consciousness. And Hima means snow. So Himalaya literally means a storage of snow. So in Chinese or Japanese, we call Himalaya as Sessan. That is snow mountain or snowy mountain in the third line of this poem. So on the snowy mountain means in the mountains in Himalaya. And this bird is also living in Himalaya, in the mountains in Himalaya. So basically what he's talking about, you know, this bird is living in the Himalaya. And I try to find the original usage of this bird, but I cannot find any source within Buddhist text made in India or China. I tried to search in Taisho Tripitaka website, but this name never appeared in the entire collection of Buddhist texts in Chinese translation. But somehow Dogen Zenji used this name, and it's kind of interesting. This name of this bird appear in, for example, in the Heike Monogatari or Tale of Heike, that was made around the same period of Dogen. So around the Kamakura period in Japan, it seems people know this name of this bird. And according to the dictionary or tales or stories, this bird lives in the high mountain, top of the high mountain in Himalaya, so it's really cold. And it said in the night, when it's really cold, it said they are male and female bird live together. And in the night, it is said female bird repeatedly says, cold is killing me. Cold is killing me. She repeat, calling is killing me. I'll die with this cold. So I don't like this. Then the male bird says, to answer to this female bird, let's make a nest tomorrow. Let's make a nest tomorrow. So they are saying, this cold kills me. Let's make nest tomorrow during, all night. But when sunrise in the morning, because it became warm, then they forget what they said during the night. So they just enjoy the warm world. So when they have a difficulty, they think this is not good. So we have to do something to make progress. But when that difficulty is gone, we forget and we don't do anything. So this is about some people, or many people, many of us are like this. When we are in the difficult conditions, we think, we make change. We have to do something. But after that difficulty is gone, we forget and we just enjoy the warm weather. So this is the way sentient beings are living within samsara. We always complain, I don't like this, or it should be better, so we have to work. And within the Buddhist context, this is about our spirituality. So we try to improve our mind by practicing, studying Dharma and practice, and being free from samsara, suffering in samsara, and we try to reach nirvana. We often make such resolution, but next day, when the difficulty is gone, we stop, studying or practicing Dharma, and we repeat this, cycle endlessly. That is how, living beings are staying in samsara. So transmigration is endless. Of course, we human beings do work with this condition in a different way, not as a spiritual practice, but work to progress, to make development in the material sense. That means we have been working to make a nest, as the one bird is saying, and we build a house, and we have heating, and we also have air conditioning in the summer. So we can control the temperature where we are. So we don't need to complain about temperature today, I think, in some part of this world. We are in countries like United States or Japan or many parts of Europe, we have heating and air conditioning. So we don't need to complain like birds. That is one of the way we become free from suffering with cold. But today, because of that kind of development in a materialistic or technological development, somehow it seems we are changing the entire climate in this on this planet, and we may be destroying, this entire world. So we are really not sure whether this development, materialistic development, is really good or not. So we have to think. But in the context of Buddhism, this is about our spirituality. How can we live without complaining, without dissatisfaction, even we have some difficulties? I think that is how, or the reason why Shakyamuni Buddha left his palace and started to practice how we can be released from the suffering in the world, in this life, suffering of sickness, aging, dying, and all other kind of sufferings. When I moved to this temple, Sanshin in 2003, I was happy because in the Zendo at Sanshin is in the basement, and it has air conditioning. And this was the first Zendo I practiced and in my lifetime. At Antai, there's no heating and no air conditioning. During winter, we used only small kerosene stove. And one year, I think in the early 70s, shortly after I started to practice there, I think we had an oil shock, and we couldn't buy kerosene so much, only a little amount. So we decided we use kerosene stove only in the Uchiamuroshi's room. So we decided to sit in the Zendo without heating for entire winter. It was really cold. We don't have snow so often in Kyoto, but at least we have ice. So that means the temperature is below 32 in Fahrenheit. It was I think, coldest place I sat in my life. And the hottest zendo I experienced was Hokyoji. When I lived in Minneapolis, we had a session at Hokyoji in June. 1 year, I think that was a 5-day session. Entire session was more than 100 degrees, so it was really hot. But even in the cold zendo at Antaiji and the hot zendo at Hokyoji, no one died. So I try not to complain if the temperature is between 32 or around 30 to 100, because I know we don't die. But it was interesting when after we started to sit in the zendo, we have controlled the temperature, but some people complain. Some people say it's too hot, and other people say it's too cold. We have people from Florida and people from Minneapolis. Their sensitivity about temperature is different. So whatever temperature we had, someone complains. And also, lay people sit only with T-shirts, but we priests need to wear at least 4 layers. So, we are even in the same place, we have different conditions, and we can always complain. This is not good to me. Of course, there is some limitation in which we can survive. So we should, because Buddhism is not an ascetic practice. Shakyamuni and Dogen also said we should try to keep the place we sit warm in the winter and cool in the summer. That is what we have to think of. And yet, sometimes we cannot control the temperature and we suffer. But in that case, we need to make a decision. No matter how hot I sit, I continue to sit, or no matter how cold I keep sitting. So this resolution is important. When I sat in the zendo without air conditioning. But when we sit in the zendo with air conditioning and heating in the winter, still we can complain. That is one of the way we continue to transmigrating. And in that is the way we create samsara. Well, that is what this word, kankucho, means. That is the way we live within samsara. And the last line is the lake with no heat of anxiety is a translation of mu netsu no chi mu netsu no chi. Chi means a pond or a lake. And mu is no, and netsu is heat. And no is anxiety. And netsu no as a compound used in Buddhist text. For example, in the Lotus Sutra, there is a sentence. This is chapter 4 of the Lotus Sutra. There is a sentence. Because of the three kinds of suffering, world-honored one, in the midst of birth and death, that is samsara, transmigration. In the midst of birth and death, we have borne all kinds of, one translation of Netsu no is passionate worries, And second translation is torments, all kinds of torments. And third, I have 4 translations of the Lotus Sutra. All translation has a different English. Third one is burning anxiety. Burning anxiety is pretty literal of Netsu no, heat and anxiety or worry. And the fourth translation uses annoyances, all kinds of annoyances. Anyway, this is a problem, mental problem we have when our life is not in the paradise or heavenly being. Because we are not heavenly beings, we live in samsara. Samsara means the world of patience, the world we need patience. So we always have some problems, and patience is one of the 6 parameters we have to practice. But it is said in Buddhist cosmology, it appears, for example, in the Abhidharma Kosha. Abhidharma Kosha describes how this entire world, entire universe are like. And Saha world is part of it. And it said there are 5 continents. And we are living in the southern continent called, I cannot pronounce the Sanskrit. But the northern part of this continent, this is like an Indian continent. There is a Himalaya. And the north of Himalaya, there is a pond or lake. The name of this pond is Mu Netsu no, means no problem, no heat, or no burning anxieties. So it said there is a pond which has no heat. Probably people living in the southern part of India, heat is a problem. But in the mountains in Himalaya, there's no such heat. So, for the people living in southern part of this continent, like India, this is like a paradise. The lake without problems, lake without anxiety. And the Abhidharma Kosha said, from this pond, the name of this lake in Sanskrit is Anavah Taputa. Anavatapta. This is Sanskrit. And in Sanskrit, the name of this lake is Anabadatta. In Chinese or Japanese, we call this lake as Anokudatta pond or lake, without heat, without anxieties or problems. So Dogen defined, this lake as a condition without problems, without suffering. And these birds, Kankcho is always complaining. So there are two sides, that is samsara and nirvana. The world full of suffering, and the condition nirvana, being free from such sufferings. And what Dogen is saying in this poem is, in the fourth line, he said, "The lake with no heat of anxiety is on the snowy mountains." So this lake without problem, without suffering, is in the Himalaya. And these birds are also living in Himalaya. So they are living in the same place. But those birds are always complaining. But there is a pond or a lake without heat, without problems. So these two means samsara and nirvana are exactly the same place. That is what Dogen is writing in this poem. So this is also kind of a teaching to his monks in his assembly at Eihei. Now they are living like these birds, and if they want to complain, they can complain everything, especially in the winter. It's always cold, and they didn't have sunlight so often, and it's kind of natural to be depressed, to lose the energy to continue to practice. But Dogen's teaching, the place where these birds are always complaining, and the place, the lake without problems, is the same place. So that means don't complain, but keep your, bodhicitta strong and determined to continue to practice. This is about this poem 13. So I'd like, one thing I'd like to mention about this poem is the meaning of this poem, or the point of this poem, I think is the same as a famous koan. In Shobo Genzo, Shunju. Shunju is spring and autumn. One of the fascicles of Shobo Genzo, Dogen quote and make comment about one koan by Tozan or Donshan. He is the founder of Chinese Soto Zen tradition. I think this is very famous koan, so many of you already know. The koan is one monk asked this Zen master Tozan, when cold and heat come, how can we avoid them? How can we avoid them? How can we avoid the suffering made by heat and cold? So how can we help those, birds in Himalaya? Then Dogen said, why don't you go to the place where there is no cold or heat? Why don't you go to the place where there is no cold or heat, like our Zendo? We can control the temperature, so there's no, never too cold or too hot. But still we can complain. Anyway, then the monk said, what is the place where there is no cold and heat? What is the place without cold and heat like? Then Dogen said, when it's cold, the cold kills you. When it's hot, the heat kills you. Or kill yourself with, when it's cold, kill yourself with cold. When it's hot, kill yourself in the heat, by heat. This is Dogen's answer. So Dogen doesn't say we should put air conditioning, but kill ourselves. Sometimes if we too extreme to that side, it's dangerous. But if we think everything should be under our control and our Zendo should be always comfortable, that is possible in this Zendo with air conditioning. Still, we can complain. So our practice, or Buddhist practice, is not develop the technique or technology of controlling the temperature. That is another part of human civilization, and that is fine. But we have to see what is the effect or influence of this technological development. And we also need to work how we can make determination. Even there are some difficulties or cold or heat, still we keep practicing, keep working. I think both are important as a kind of a middle way. Well, now I go to the next poem, poem 14. From this poem, the topic of the poem is not snow anymore, but next 4 poems is about Dogen's kind of advice to Zen practitioners, probably monks who come to Dogen's place. We are not sure when these poems were written, so we are not sure whether this is at Koshoji in Kyoto or after he moved to Eihei. But sometimes monks request to make a poem for them. So sometimes Dogen made a poem and give to the people. And this is the first one, number 14 in Kuchugen. Let me read this poem first in Japanese again. 終節共に通ず別地の先。誰かここに至って安寧たるべき。小風響きにはず老人の耳。竹炉梅雨落ちて月辺にいる。Let me read it again. 終節ともに通ず別地の先。誰かここに至って安寧たるべき。小風響きにはず老人の耳。竹炉落ちて月辺にいる。In English translation, essence and expression are penetrating before we glimpse the ground. Arriving at this, who can be at peace? Too bad the echo of wind in the pines doesn't reach a deaf ear. Dew from bamboo is repeatedly dropping in front of the moon. Essence and express are penetrating before we glimpse the ground. Arriving at this, who can be at peace? Too bad the echo of wind in the pines does not reach a deaf ear. Dew from bamboo is repeatedly dropping in front of the moon. So this poem is not about snow, but I think the main point is the same actually within this several poems. Menzan selected from Eihei colloq. The main point is common. That is the relation between in the Nagarjuna's expression, ultimate truth and conventional truth. How these two working together? What is the relation between absolute truth and conventional truth? These are completely penetrate each other, and yet we should not mix them, confuse them, and we have to use both sides freely. That is a point of Dogen's teaching, not only about these poems. This poem given to a Zen practitioner, I think, is about about Zazen, Dogen's Zazen teaching, Zazen practice, because the word Dogen used in the first line, that is essence and expression. Essence and expression is shu and setsu. Shu, we translate this as essence, or this shu also means origin or original, so original truth. And setsu is expounding or explanation. So this is expression about the shu, about the essential or original truth. So this shu refer to capital D Dharma. This is a reality or truth Buddha awakened to. when Buddha had enlightenment or awakening, he awakened to this Dharma, the way things are. But in the beginning, he didn't want to share what he discovered in his awakening, because Buddha thought it's too difficult to share with other people. Even he explained, no one could understand. It's too deep, deep and subtle. So even if he tried to share this Dharma with other people, it's a waste of his time and energy. So he thought it's better to enjoy, this freedom from suffering, that is nirvana, and just be by himself and enjoy nirvana. But because an Indian god, Brahma, came to Buddha and asked him to teach 3 times. First 2 times he said no, but the 3rd time he said yes. And it is said, Buddha's biography said, he stayed in the same forest where he attained awakening. He attained awakening while he was sitting under the Bodhi tree. But it said he stayed in the same forest by the different trees each week. So it seems he had several, week-long session by himself without Tenzo. So it might be difficult. I wonder how he could get food. There's a story that one time 2 merchants came nearby him. So those merchants offered some food. And after awakening, it seems he went to a town or a village to beg takohatsu, some food, and some lay people offered food to him. Anyway, so he stayed in that forest by himself. I think, in a sense, he was translating that Dharma he found, he discovered, into language. He didn't say what happened at the moment he had awakening, but he said there is some difference before and after. If you read Pali, you find some sutra, Shakyamuni taught what the difference, what the transformation he experienced. Basically, that is about 5 skandhas. When 5 skandhas are 5 upadana skandhas or pancha upadana skandhas. 5 skandhas are mala. But after he attained awakening, he is become free from clinging to the 5 skandhas. And in this case, 5 skandhas cling to 5 skandhas because there's nothing else. Only 5 skandhas are there. But when 5 skandhas, 5 aggregates, works as a kind of machine. 5 aggregate means our body and mind function as like a machine. Somehow 5 aggregate create this I. or self. And somehow, five aggregate think this I is the owner and operator of themselves. That means five skandhas think they belong to this I, this self. And that is how we say. For example, when I think, this is my hand, or this is my, reading glasses, and this is my face. Those things belongs to this I. But what Buddha said is this I is useful when we think, and it's necessary. But this I is a concept. There's no such things, no I exists as actual thing. But somehow five aggregate cling to this I. Then five aggregate function as Mara. So when after he attained awakening, he found he became free from this upadana, clinging to five skandhas. So five skandhas simply become five skandhas without upadana or clinging. That is what is expressed in the first sentence of the Heart Sutra. Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva, when deeply practicing prajna paramita, clearly see the emptiness of five skandhas. So when we see the emptiness of five skandhas, there's no way we cling to the five skandhas or cling to this self. That is a liberation. So I think what Buddha said in that sutra, in the Pali Sutra, and what the Heart Sutra is saying is the same thing. That means five skandhas are Mara. But when he awakened to this Dharma and become free from clinging to the five skandhas. And that is called, in Buddha's biography, that is called conquering the Mara. So Buddha conquered the Mara. But Buddha didn't kill the Mara. But Mara was transformed. Five skandhas function as Mara, but after his awakening, these five skandhas function as Buddha's body and mind. So Shakyamuni didn't kill the Mara. So Mara is living together with Shakyamuni rest of his life. So if you read Buddha's biography, you can find, sometimes Mara visited him. Even a few months after his death, his entering Nirvana, Mara appeared and talked with the Buddha. So this transformation of five aggregate from Mara to Buddha's body and mind is the important point. Anyway, after I think he made translation of what he experienced and to language, how he could explain or express what he discovered. And after he made a preparation, he stood up and walked to the deer park, and taught those five monks. And because those five monks attained the same kind of experience, and it is said they became arahat, And the Buddha's biography said, after those 5 monks became awakened, the biography said, now there were 6 arahats in this world. That means there's no distinction between Shakyamuni and other 5 monks after they attained the same experience. But anyway, so he started to talk or express or expand what he discovered and to share with other people. And after he taught those 5 monks, he continued to teach about this Dharma rest of his life for 40 years. And it is said when Buddha passed away, there were 500 arahats. That means 500 people had the same experience. Anyway, so what Buddha taught using language is setsu, expression. So that is the meaning of shu and setsu. And another important thing is, together with the shu setsu, is gyo. So what Buddha taught is not only a teaching or philosophy, but he taught how to practice to experience the same Dharma. So that is shu and setsu, and one section or one Dharma whole discourse included in the Eihei Kolok. He discussed about these 3 points. So not when Buddha awakened to this truth, he translated into language and he explained to other people, and he also taught how to practice to have the same experiences. So these 3 are important points of Buddhist teaching. And this is one so-called hogo. Hogo means Dharma was. This is one section of Eihei Kolok included in volume 8. In English translation of Eihei Kolok, this section start, let's see, page 519. So you can check what Dogen says about this, because this Dharma word is very long. I cannot talk entirety of this one, but I summarize. What he talks in this Dharma word is shu setsu gyo. Are one. Ichi nyo. This expression, ichi nyo, is the same word Dogen used when he said practice and realization, or practice and verification are one. Verification is about sho. Shugyo is practice, and verification is sho. This sho is to see or experience this shu. And setsu is same as kyo, teaching. So practicing teaching and verification. This means this is a kind of process of our study and practice. When we hear some teaching, Buddha's teaching, we have to understand what this means. And when we think and understand, and if we think this is reasonable and it doable to me, then we put this teaching into practice. And as a result of practice, we have realization of this shu. And this is realization or verification. Verification means through our practice, we verify this teaching is really true. So this is a kind of process of studying and practicing and verifying or realizing. But what Dogen is saying is those three are actually one thing. That means when we hear the teaching, somehow, I said Buddha translate his experience to the language. But usually we study Buddha's teaching with language. Then we have to make translation on the opposite way, opposite order. We have to translate the language or teaching expressed in the language into our practice. That is our gyo, that is our Zazen practice. Then we verify this teaching is really true, so that we have same experience with what Buddha experienced. So this is the meaning of first two words of this poem, shu and setsu. And next word he used in the first line is becchi no saki, that is before we glimpse the ground. Before we glimpse the ground is becchi. Chi is ground, and bet is to glimpse, to see a little bit, not completely. And this expression becchi, or glimpse the ground, is used in Fukanza Zengi. I'm sure you are familiar with Fukanza Zengi. You may recite Fukanza Zengi after evening Zazen. This word express right after the first 4 sentences. And this is about the first 4 sentences. So let me read the beginning of Fukanza Zengi, the universal recommendation of Zazen. This is my translation of Fukanza Zengi. Dogen says, originally, the way is complete and universal. How can we distinguish practice from enlightenment? The vehicle of reality is in the self. Why should we waste our effort trying to attain it? Still more, the whole body is free from dust. Why we should believe in a means to sweep it away. On the whole, the way is never separated from where we are. why should we wander here and there practice? This is the first four sentences of Kanzazengi. And after that, he continues, yet, this word yet or however, and yet is Dogen's favorite word. This means two opposite things is connected with this word yet or however or but. Yet, he said, if there is the slightest deviation, you will be as far from the way as heaven is from earth. If adverse or favorable conditions arise to even a small degree, you will lose your mind in confusion. Then next sentence. Even if you are proud of your understanding, are enlightened in abundance, and obtain the power of wisdom, to glimpse the ground of Buddhahood. This glimpse the ground of Buddhahood is the same expression he used in this poem, glimpse the ground. So, obtain the power of wisdom to glimpse the ground of Buddhahood. Even if you gain the way, clarify the mind, resolve to pierce heaven, that is only strolling on the border of the Buddha way. You are still almost always lacking the vivid path of emancipation. So this is how Dogen used this expression, grasp the ground. That means when we arouse bodhicitta and aspire to practice and hear Buddhist teaching, and we practice. And as a kind of a result of our personal effort in studying and practicing, somehow we feel like we glimpse, we see what is written. But Dogen said that is only a glimpse of Buddhahood. That is the point we can reach through our personal effort. But that is about setsu and kyo and gyo practice. We can reach the boundary through our personal effort. But that is only the boundary of the Buddhahood. That is what he meant when he said before. In this first line of this poem, he said, essence and expressions are penetrating before we grasp the ground. That means even if we don't reach such a point, it's fine. You, as a result of your effort to study and practice Dharma, to reach that point is okay. That is a point of glimpse the Buddhahood. But if you think that is the goal, he said it's a mistake. Because what he said, the shu and sets are interpenetrating each other before or prior to this point we can reach through our effort. So that shu and sets in this poem means what he said in the first 4 sentences of Fukan Zazen. That means originally means refer to Shu. The way is complete and universal even before we reach such a point of glimpse. Before even we don't know, this way is complete and universal. So how can we distinguish practice from enlightenment? Means we cannot reach by our effort. And the vehicle of reality is in the self. Why should we waste our effort trying to attain it? And the whole body is free from dust. Why should we believe in a means, method to sweep the dust away? And on the whole, the way is never separated from where we are now. Why should we wander here and there to practice? So this, this is an expression of the original truth or reality. And we cannot reach there through our effort. Our effort can take us to the point of to glimpse it. But our personal effort doesn't work to get into there. And another point of Dogen is even if we don't reach such a point, when we sit and letting go, in Dogen's expression, when we show the Buddha mudra through entire body and mind, then we are already there without our effort. Even we don't understand, and even if we think we glimpse, but still, Dogen said our first Zazen as a new practitioner, as a beginners, our first Zazen as a beginners is first doing Buddha. So this Zazen, this practice is real thing. Within this practice, original truth is already manifested, even though we don't understand. When I first received a Zazen instruction, when I became a student of Komazawa University, the teacher gave me a Zazen instruction. And I often talk about this, but the teacher said, your first Zazen, and Zazen done by practitioners with long experience is the same Zazen. And even Dogen Zen's Zazen or Buddha's Zazen is the same Zazen. Of course, I didn't understand what it means, but somehow that I had to practice through that teaching what this means. And after long, many years of practice, now I really believe that was true. My Zazen, when I was 19, without any understanding, and my Zazen now, more than 50 years later, is the same Zazen. But of course, understanding is different. And maybe I could see a little bit deeper than when I was 19 years old. But this Zazen is a manifestation of this original truth or ultimate truth. It's there, whether it has nothing to do with our effort to understand. Of course, we have to make effort to study, to understand what Dogen wrote or what Buddha taught. That is what I have been doing. So my understanding, I think in a sense, has been developed because I read so many Buddhist texts, and I heard my teacher's teachings. So I had much more knowledge and understanding. Still, my knowledge and understanding doesn't reach there. But when we sit without understanding, we are already there. So these are two sides of a practice. That is ultimate truth and conventional truth. We have to make effort day by day, and yet even without understanding, original truth or reality is there because we are living right there from the time we are born. Well, I have to finish this today, this poem. So, arriving at the second line, arriving at this means this understanding and this practice. Who can be at peace? It's kind of difficult, even if we study this teaching, and so we believe, we have a faith that this practice is a manifestation of ultimate reality. Still, it's difficult to believe it. So we have a kind of a struggle. How can we understand? How can we reach to that point? But Dogen asks, who can be peace like there? Our understanding is relative. Still, even when our understanding is shallow and we don't have much knowledge about Buddhist teaching, somehow we need to find a peace within this sitting. That is what letting go or opening the hand of thought means. Within this opening the hand of thought, our understanding of Dharma or Buddhist teaching is included. No matter how much knowledge we have about Buddhist teachings, still in our Zazen, we have to open our hand, let go, and just be there, be peaceful. And within this practice, the original reality manifests itself. So it's not a matter of I can see it or I experience it, but before our thinking mind, it's there. That is what he's saying in the next two lines of this poem. Too bad the echo of wind in the pines does not reach a deaf ear. If our ear is not open, the wind blowing through pines. In Chinese or Japanese poetry, this matsukaze or pine wind is a metaphor of something very calm and peaceful. And so here Dogen used this word, pine wind, as the metaphor of Buddha's voice. Same as the sound of valley stream. Even the valley stream is making the sound of Buddha's voice. Still, if our ear is not open, is not ready to hear it, we don't hear the Buddha's voice. We only hear the sound of wind. And last sentence is, dew from bamboo is repeatedly dropping in front of the moon. This is what Dogen wrote in Genjo Koan. Within each and every drop of dew, the boundless moonlight is reflected. Drop of dew is like our body and mind. Within this tiny drop of dew, our body and mind, the boundless moonlight, that is Buddha's wisdom and compassion, is reflected. But we don't see it because it cannot be the object of our six sense organs, including thinking. When we think about it, when we read Genjo Koan, we think about what is the drop of dew and what is boundless moonlight, and we try to understand. But when we do such a thing, we don't sit. We are not in the Zen. We don't open our hand. So the concept or idea of moonlight reflect on a drop of dew is not real thing. But when we are sitting, even without understanding that, then this is drop of dew, and moonlight is reflected. But when we try to see it, we lose it. So this is a kind of a strange thing. That is why we need practice. No matter how much knowledge or understanding about what Buddha taught or what Dogen wrote, if we don't practice, that all knowledge is just a concept of what is written. But our just sitting and letting go or opening the hand of thought is real thing. I think that is what I have to say about this poem. It's already 11:32. But if you have some comment or a question, please give me. I hope we have some time. Please. I'm sorry, as always, I speak too long.
Well, we certainly thank you for sharing your deep appreciation and understanding. It's amazing and very valuable. I think we should, at this point, invite Tejo to chant for closing sutra.
Okay.
May the merit of this practice.
May the merit of this practice
Benefit all beings.
Benefit all beings.
And bring peace.
And bring peace.
Did everyone get their handout? If you didn't, send me an email at tejo@greattreetemple.org. Thank you, Shohaku.
Thank you very much.
We'll see you again tomorrow.
Okay, see you tomorrow morning.
Okay.
Very good.